All right, I thought I would make a bit of a addition and editing of my right wing manifesto or promise for action and so on. So this is the new and improved version of it, mostly the same, but a few extras and a little bit of editing to make for clarification that I tacked on at the end of my last video and so on. So this is a little more tightly knit and so on. However, I want to say that the three pillars of this is policing parasites, predators, and Ponzi schemes, getting rid of imposter syndrome by equipping people to perform in their life goals and wider community, and also caring for those who can't care for self. Those three core pillars are why I'm making this entire thing, basically. Maybe there's an emphasis on policing people's behavior and so on, but ultimately those three principles, all the rules or principles of the Right Wing Manifesto, fall into one of those categories more or less, including the economic ones. And basically, long story short, about 15-20% of the population is neurologically designed to predate on the rest of humanity, and that's why a lot of protection against them is important, because it's 1 out of 5 people that is a predator on the rest of humanity. However, some of the liberation from predators and so on, and also encouraging and building people up and so on, is like mutual support and so on is also there, and a little tiny bit about caring for those who can't care for themselves. But the emphasis is on protecting against negative, building positive, and keeping losers in the game so that they can potentially become winners. A little bit. Okay, so here goes. Right-wing manifesto ideas. Purge and protect, expose and depose parasites in bureaucracy, in government, and institutional and independent predators on people. Invite and initiate, bring men into the deeper meaning of masculinity through mentorship, and women through femininity, and so on. So no more effeminate men and butch women, and so on. Just ICE, it's spelled just spacebar ICE, kind of a play on the word justice. Mass deport illegals and get legal immigrants to leave on their own. Enforce and educate, teach men to impose their values on those nearby to them, that it's okay to be white and Christian. The wonder of work, doing real good for others and getting good in return, is a pillar of the new right-wing economics. No more of this trader bro stock market game the system as the only viable option to wealth. Real factory jobs and manufacturing and farming and stuff like that needs to be a real way to do it, basically. Men's meritocracy, acknowledge the fact even in even competitive fields, men will outperform women on average, and WASP culture outperforms socialism, Catholics, and third worldists. Womb ends wills is a play on woman and womb. Acknowledge the fact females desire children more strongly than men, whose job it is to support and protect the woman and children. Common law, common sense. Marriage should be defined as one man, one woman, and judges should be removed from office for violating public trust seriously. Cut the legal codes into common sense laws, so less laws but more sensible ones. Natural order type ones. Against worst behaviors with minimal special circumstances added to the code of law. relying on judges trained in common sense while weeding out bad actor judges and activist judges. Legal royal regard, refit the laws of nation and subsidiary bodies in legal philosophy to neo-reactionary desires, more or less, which I kind of hinted at before, but the neo-reactionaries have some of the best philosophy on law there is. Shuck the system, which is a combination of shock and fuck. Basically, it's stripping it of the useless parts and keeping the best parts. Get to the smallest functioning state one can to navigate debt. Keep defense, police, fire, ambulance, education, but give school choice with financial awards to good schools who perform well by school choice and so on. No more bailouts. Play on bailouts and Obama. Dismantle the Fed. End subsidization of industries. No more our losses, my profits. No more taking from taxpayers to give to the CEOs or unions. Fiat voluntas hoc tua, and that's basically a play on a canticle for Leibowitz's Fiat voluntas tua, and also the hoc tua cryptocurrency, and so on. Tariffs to switching to gold or oil or food-backed currency. Have a 5 to 10 step program for milestones on getting to commodity backing for dollars. Because fiat currency is basically just willpower currency. It's monopoly money that is given value because the people with the guns say so, and that's all it is. And that's what's, as Nick Freetest points out, that's what's making real productivity and manufacturing and stuff like that impossible in the USA and in Canada and the UK and so on. LGBTQ, dismantle degenerate forms of sexuality being so openly flouted with sick burns and roasts and decency laws against naked men twerking in front of children, and no more drag queen story hour or LGBT propaganda by pedophiles in schools, no transsexuals in women's sports or bathrooms and changing rooms. Inspire and instruct, get people out of learned helplessness and imposter syndrome through real training and skills and encouraging drives to have families and careers for women and men, including parenting training and so on. And the idea is part of the reason why we have socialism is because so many people feel they can't make it in the society and economy and so on. And building them up so that they actually feel confident enough to actually try will lead to more successes once we remove the obstacles from their success a little bit more than before under socialism, like more than under socialism or more than under neoliberalism. And so on, and that's what some of the other previous things like Shuck the System and Fiat Voluntas Hoc Tua are about, basically removing those obstacles, and this one's about building people up to meet the challenges so that they don't revert to infantile, effeminate, socialist desires. Christian charitability, establish a system of care for the truly vulnerable, elderly, mentally ill, retarded, physically handicapped. Police to remove parasites, so no lazy. Police it to remove lazy people who that's all they are. They're just lazy, and they accidentally got put on disability or something like that. Demographic defense, ensuring we aren't replaced by invaders, and ensuring the continued survival of our people as supreme in our own lands. And part of that means population management, not in the sense of reducing the population entirely, but more keeping it stable or increasing it slightly or something like that. Maybe allowing for a little reduction here and there once in a while, just as a natural sort of up and down, but hovering around the same level roughly over the decades or centuries and so on. Avoiding historical hysterics, national pride in our people as our people, ending the self-hatred, cultural community and psychological support, focusing on networking with like-minded individuals or elders who've been through, quote-unquote, the fire and come out the other side to promote virtue and resilience. Basically, you do all of those things, and you have a functioning world system or national system, and everything else is basically failure incarnate. And it's like you have to do all these aspects on some level, and people can focus on which areas they're better at and which ones they're not so good at. They can leave to other people. It takes all kinds to make the world go round, I suppose. But ultimately, those points are the right-wing manifesto I have for managing society to be well off and so on. I know technically there's some arguments that Christian charity is a volunteering thing, not a social welfare program. But, if we relied on just what people are willing to give to the poor, they would be living like hell, basically. At least currently. So even if we eventually move to charity only, the social programs are necessary on some level until we move to it. And there's other ways to get to the point where we can focus on charity more than welfare programs, through other means of areas of focus and so on. But yeah, so that's my, at least for the moment now, set of ideals and purposes and promises and actions we can take to, as right wingers, to win the culture. And what I'm hoping for is that this set of principles can be a banner to the right wing, so that people can take it and use it as a generalized, this is the world I want, kind of promotion. And if the left goes, oh my God, that's horrible, and so on, there's nothing really objectionable to the average person, and they can look at the left screaming about it and go, huh, that's funny, they don't like good things, and so on.